"Sir, my baby sister is freezing." The little boy whispered those words with lips trembling harder than the winter wind, his tiny body hunched over the bundle of rags he was trying so desperately to shield. Cars rushed past him on the icy Chicago street, splashing dirty snow, their headlights cutting across the darkness, but no one stopped. No one even slowed. It was as if the world had already decided he and the baby didn't matter. And maybe, to everyone else, they didn't. But fate was about to place the right person on that sidewalk. Fate was about to make a powerful man kneel before a child whose entire life was falling apart. If you believe kindness still exists in this world, if you believe second chances matter, then please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more meaningful stories. The night had been brutal. 11-year-old Micah had been walking for almost an hour, cradling his baby sister Rose, only 8 months old, wrapped in his thin hoodie. Their mother hadn't come home for 2 days. The small apartment they lived in had lost heat again, and when Rose's tiny fingers had turned frighteningly cold, Micah had panicked. He didn't know where to go. He didn't know who to trust. All he knew was that if he didn't find help fast, he might lose the only person he loved more than anything in the world. The city was harsh, unforgiving, especially to children alone at night. Micah's shoes were 2 sizes too small, the soles cracked open where frozen slush seeped in. The baby's breath was shallow, her cheeks pale. He tried to hum to her the way his mother used to, but his voice kept breaking. He felt like a failure, like a little boy trapped in a world that required him to act like a grown man. Across the street, a black luxury SUV pulled into a parking space. A tall, sharply dressed man stepped out, speaking into an earpiece, his tone clipped and irritated. That man was Nathan Hartwell, a CEO known in the corporate world for being brilliant, relentless, emotionally unreachable. He was the kind of man who built an empire out of nothing and trusted no one. The board feared him, investors idolized him, but no one really knew him, not since he lost his fiancée 5 years ago and locked away his heart. Nathan wasn't supposed to be there that night. He had left a dinner event early after an argument with a business partner. He hated inefficiency, hated dishonesty, and hated, more than anything, being blindsided. But as he stepped out onto that frozen sidewalk, fate blindsided him in a way he never expected. He saw something move out of the corner of his eye. A small figure, hunched over, shaking. At first he thought it was a stray dog. But then he heard a sound, a weak, muffled whimper, and Nathan turned fully toward it. Micah lifted his head, desperate, eyes full of fear and hope tangled together. He whispered the only words he could manage, his baby sister was freezing. Nathan stopped mid-step. Something inside him, something he thought had died long ago, twisted painfully. He walked toward the boy, and as he came closer, he saw the baby's blue lips, her trembling body pressed weakly against her brother's chest. Nathan's breath hitched. He didn't think. He didn't calculate. He didn't analyze. He took off his expensive coat and wrapped it gently around both of them. The coat swallowed them completely, as though it were meant for that very purpose. Micah stared up in disbelief. No adult had ever cared this quickly before. No one had ever looked at him with concern instead of suspicion. Nathan scooped the baby into his arms, carefully, almost reverently, then lifted Micah's small hand. Without a word, he guided them into his warm SUV. The driver was stunned, but Nathan only said one thing, "Hospital. Now." Inside the vehicle, Micah watched Nathan pace anxiously, constantly checking on Rose, rubbing warmth back into her hands. The CEO who commanded thousands of employees couldn't stop his voice from shaking when he whispered, almost to himself, "She's so cold, she's just a baby." Micah had never expected a stranger, let alone someone who looked like he belonged in a world of skyscrapers and private jets, to care this deeply. He tried to speak, to explain, but exhaustion hit him like a wave. He slumped against the seat, fighting sleep. At the hospital, the doctors rushed Rose inside. Nathan stayed with Micah, refusing to leave him alone. He bought hot chocolate, blankets, even a pair of warm socks from the gift shop because the boy's feet were purple from the cold. When Micah finally spoke, his voice cracked like thin ice. He explained that their mother struggled with addiction, disappearing for days. He explained how he tried to keep them fed, how he used to check neighbors' trash bins for leftover food, how sometimes he'd boil water just to create the illusion of warmth. He spoke quietly, almost apologetically, as though he felt guilty for things that were never his fault. Nathan listened without interrupting. Each word felt like a punch to the chest. He had spent years building wealth, building influence, building walls, but none of it mattered in that moment. Not when a child had been forced to parent a baby. Not when the world had failed them this badly. Rose survived. She was severely hypothermic but stable. Doctors said Micah's swift action saved her life. When the nurse handed the baby back to him, Micah broke down, sobbing silently into her tiny shoulder as Nathan stood behind him, one hand on the boy's back. It was the first time Nathan touched someone with genuine tenderness in years. The hospital contacted social services. Nathan expected them to take the children away, to place them in a system that was often just as cold as the streets. But something inside him rebelled violently at the thought. He couldn't explain it, but he felt a profound responsibility, almost a calling, to protect these two fragile lives that had stumbled into his. He told social services everything he witnessed, everything the children endured. His voice was calm but firm, and when he offered temporary guardianship until their mother could be found, the social worker, recognizing his influence and sincerity, agreed under emergency provisions. That night, Nathan brought Micah and Rose to his penthouse overlooking the Chicago skyline. It was a world of luxury, warmth, abundance, a world Micah didn't know how to exist in. He walked nervously, afraid to touch anything, afraid to breathe too loudly. Nathan noticed. He knelt down to meet the boy's eyes and told him gently that nothing in that home was more important than he and Rose being safe. Days turned into weeks. Social services located their mother, but she was too deep into addiction to take them back. She entered rehab, determined to recover, but the process would take time. Meanwhile, Nathan rearranged his entire life around two children he barely knew yet felt fiercely protective of. He hired a nanny, a therapist, tutors. He filled the kitchen with foods Micah timidly admitted he liked. He placed a crib beside his own bed so Rose would never sleep cold again. Little by little, the ice around Nathan's heart melted, replaced with something warm, steady, life-changing. Micah began smiling again, real smiles, the kind that softened his eyes and made him look like a child instead of a survivor. Rose grew stronger, her laughter echoing through the penthouse like sunlight breaking through clouds. Nathan found himself coming home earlier, canceling meetings, reading bedtime stories with a voice that cracked when he got emotional. He wasn't just helping them. They were healing him. Months later, their mother completed her treatment program. She returned, sober, trembling with guilt and gratitude. She cried when she saw her children healthy, warm, safe. She thanked Nathan repeatedly, saying she didn't deserve such kindness. But Nathan shook his head. Everyone deserves a second chance, he told her. It took time, but slowly, carefully, she rebuilt her relationship with her children. She found work, saved money, and when she finally moved into a small but stable apartment, she invited Nathan to visit anytime. He did, every weekend. And Micah would always run to him, hugging him fiercely, as though he were part of the family.